Thanks, Dave. I like to wander because I'm a little bit nervous. So, look, it's my privilege to present this program to you all. It's been very interesting couple of years for me. It started in New Zealand Rugby League. Prior to that, I'd been on the board of the Auckland Zone, and started out when we had targeted sports at Sport Gisborne, and I was working with the board there. And it doesn't get much more grassroots than Gisborne Tairāwhiti Rugby League. So that gave me quite the surprise into how rugby league works in the areas. So I started out here. Phil Holden came to me and said, right, I need a community sport plan. We'll second you from Sport Auckland to come and write this plan for us. And I thought, great, that's fantastic. Let's see what we can do here. And he said, oh, by the way, there's this collective agreement that we've started to work on with some of the government agencies. Why don't you come in and negotiate that for us? What the hell am I doing? Is that really what? Okay, let's see how we go here. So I sat down in this room with these 4 key Crown agencies and people and looked at it, and they said, right, more than just a game. We love it. Love the concept, love the idea. We want to be part of it. And thanks for your presentation to us prior to this. And I went, what presentation? And they said, well, you came to us with this. So this is my learning curve now. It's starting to understand that. We had the MOE investing in us in playgroups. Quite an incredible project, running early childhood education centres out of rugby league clubs. We had ACC investing in us in League Smart, which had been changed to the fundamentals, injury prevention. We had Health Promotion Agency working with us on smoke-free. And so prior to me starting, we'd gone to them and said, look, this is ridiculous. We're getting funding all over the show. We're giving you 5, 6 different reports a year. You come together, collectively talk about what you want achieved, and let's work through that. So that's where we'd started. This is a presentation to one of the PHA meetings. So while it says it's a partnership, it's groundbreaking, and we're learning together, not my words. This is the words of the 4 agencies to start with. All the letters of the alphabet: MOE, ACC, HPA, POLICE. And thank you, that's my one joke for the day. And so we had this discussion, collectively worked together, and then at the end of last year, I approached MSD and said, you need to be part of this. And they've come on board now as well, they agreed. And so there's 5 agencies that are invested in it. So we sat down together, and this is what they came up with. Okay, from their perspective, we have a significant community that they want to reach. They know that, in particular, some of the rugby league communities have issues that they address. They wanted to do it through a sport that the communities loved, and for the first time ever, cross-agency collaboration, reducing duplication and consistency. Great. So I sat there, and these incredibly strong, high-powered women, Gina Lomax, Kaurarana Cribb, sitting across the table at each other, talking about how they're going to invest. And I'm sitting there like a deer in the headlights. What is going on here? And they'd argue for about 15, 20 minutes, and then they'd turn to me and go, isn't that right, Jacob? Yeah. All right, okay. So we're going to do this, aren't we, Jacob? Yeah, okay. I have no idea what I'm agreeing on. I haven't even written the community sport plan, and I'm agreeing to some things that we're going to achieve. And I'm thinking, how can I say no? They're going to invest money in me. Fortunately, we came up with a pretty good way of talking about it. And I encourage everyone to start looking at results-based accountability, the RBA process, because that's what governments are using now. It's an easy, once you get your head around it, it's an easy method of reporting and recording your influence, what you're doing, but also how it's influencing what the community that you're trying to get to. And so they came up with these 3 objectives: that we're engaged, we're connected, and we're leading. We're putting this phrasing into all of our programs now. For example, our playgroups. When we first start working with the club, working with the community, we're engaged. We're fully in there. We have staff that go out, market, run, set up, work with the volunteers and the parent champs on building a curriculum program. Then, usually around 6 months into it, we start to get connected. We connect them with health agencies. We find some issues. An example, one of our playgroups, a couple of the mothers didn't want to go home. Home is not a safe environment for them. They were there every day. They wanted to stay in the playgroups because they didn't want to go home. So that's when we bring in Ministry of Social Development. We bring in agencies to come help support them. Okay. Interestingly, around this also, we're starting to find that the kindergartens are now coming to us and saying this is great because the 0 to 3 year old age group, that especially Māori Pacific Islanders, aren't really engaged socially. They're staying at home with their mothers and are not really getting an understanding of what it is to play in a group. Now we hear this at primary school level, right? Kids come in, they're not ready for school yet, they're not engaged. Kindergartens are saying that to us as well. They're not ready to be, kids aren't ready to be social yet. So this gives them an opportunity to connect with their community and the kids that are in that community before they even go on to kindergarten. And then in the end, they're leading. The club is leading the program. We're supporting, we're there once a month, helping them, guiding them, setting up their curricula. We provide PD still for their parent champs, but ultimately the club is leading this program. So we're implementing that into all of our programs in the agreement here. So what did I do year one? Still trying to understand my role as GM of Community in Rugby League. Still trying to work it out. I surveyed everything I could. I just got out there and I thought, right, I need to give data. I need to understand what we're going to do and how we're going to change it. This here is the first survey that we did of the parents at the youth, at the playgroups. 83% said they were, 83% of the responses were positive. Okay, there's a 93% satisfaction rate for those that are attending. The key issue, anyone want to have a guess at what the key issue is at running early childhood education playgroups at rugby league clubs? Oh, good. See, I've got an audience here that don't want it. Anyone? Okay, that's all right. I've got the answer. The club rooms themselves. Cold, unwelcoming, can't get them open. So that is the key hindrance that we have, especially through the winter. And this is Auckland, so I'm just trying to think how I'm going to do this in Invercargill or somewhere like that, where it's a little bit colder in winter. One of the things we are starting to do then is link in with Ministry of Education, give special grants. So we've put heat pumps into 4 of our rugby league clubs now. We've put carpet down, provided storage, done a whole lot of other things that we've been able to do for the clubs as well as part of the playgroups. Then I started surveying all our players, all those that have been involved in our events and our activities. And we started to break down some stereotypes. And this was the most fascinating thing for me when it came to interviewing our players. They are not dope smokers that don't go to school and are thugs. Our players are intelligent, understand where they want to go and what they want to do and how they want to go there. And they have a framework around what it takes to be a rugby league player, but an understanding that that may not be their career path. You know, we had kids that wanted to be civil engineers, early childhood teachers, a whole lot that wanted to be chippies and the likes as well, but they knew what they wanted to do. And this was really fascinating. 83% of them attended some form of education 4 or 5 times a week. What we are starting to understand now is that those are our elite players that we select. Those are our motivated players. Now that we've started interviewing the same kids in clubs, it starts to drop off a little bit. So that's where we need to start to connect. Give them an understanding of their educational pathways. That's stage 2 for us now. So this year, at the end of the year, I started doing clubs and getting an understanding. I was very fortunate to jump on with the Voice of the Customer survey pilot with Hamish McEwen, and that's been a revelation for us. So we've started to get that feedback from people within the clubs as to what we're doing and how they're finding rugby league. But the other thing that's fascinating is that I've developed this audit of what our rugby league clubs are doing, and they're already connected with the community. And I thought, well, the best way to do this is with a matrix. I had the most incredible person develop this wonderful PowerPoint presentation that I'll show you in the next slide on what it looks like in our clubs. Yeah, that's me. I did that, and it's very difficult to read, I know. But it actually does give us an understanding here of what the clubs are doing and where they're all engaged. We've got 168 clubs. 100 of those have some facilities. 68 of them are just a bunch of guys that put a team in together and play in an organisation. 75 of our clubs are engaged in some form of NZRL-driven social program that's not rugby league. Southern Rugby League, they met with Safe Communities. They realised that one of the key issues they have is that their teenagers are getting fines because they're not paying the $35 to get their driver's licence. They work with Land Transport to ensure that those kids have access to the driver's licence program. That reduces the fines that they're getting and stops that cycle where they just can't get out of. West Coast understands that there's a high rate of drowning on the West Coast, so they linked with Water Safety New Zealand to teach all their players not to drown. The Auckland has a Be a Sport campaign, which we're now picking up and running nationally. Sideline campaign, reduced sideline judiciary behaviours from 8 per year. This is spectators going onto the field and hitting a referee or hitting the opposition. 8 down to 2. So that's fairly significant. We're picking that up. We're running that nationally. And that aligns very closely with what we're doing around the framework now. So we're coming with a national program on this. Collectively, off-the-field behaviour, smoke-free environments, water, best choice, only choice. Okay, we want to see that in every club. That kaupapa aligns with all 5 of our Crown agencies that invest in us. And then we will connect clubs locally with what their key issue is. So that starts on to our club capability program, developing club champions, finding out what the key social issue is with them and linking them with that organisation that will support them with that. Tokeroa, for example, youth suicide. Linking them in with the organisation that supports the club to support their players on youth suicide. It's different right across the country. And from there, our development officers then step in and say, right, well, let's support you in your sport. Let's look at what we can do for your governance, for your volunteers, for your coaching. Let's help you build your club environment so that people, when they come, when they're part of your club, they feel welcome. They want to be part of it. It's a family-oriented environment, and you feel comfortable playing sport. I have been challenged about what we're doing here and the fact that it isn't sport-related. And I can safely say that it is making an incredible difference in our community, in our people, and in our club environment. And therefore, what I've got there, educational transitions, better people make better players. That's it. I've been brief, gone over it fairly quickly in what we're doing. This is now year 2, and we have a very good groundwork on an understanding of what is going on in our environment, in our community, and now we're looking at how we extend the reach. What are we going to do from an NSO and an RSO perspective to expand some of these programs and deliver into our communities? Thank you for your time. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Jacob?
To us in particular, NZRL, apart from the money they gave us? Yep. Yeah, good question. So the key benefits for me have been linking in and getting a better understanding of what the agencies deliver and what they deliver locally, and who the best organisations are to link in with. So Gisborne, for example, when I went down there, the Safe Communities woman that runs the program there, they run an Ease Up on the Drink campaign, which actually looks at sideline behaviour. So what it does is it directly links with what we're already trying to do. So, and I only got that from having an understanding of, from a national level from the Crown agencies, these are the people and these are what they're doing, and then I can work in how we link them up. So just understanding what there is out there and who that group is that I should connect them to. We're not the social agencies, we're not the social people, we are the connection, the networker to bring them in. And also, just to get a better understanding of some of the other agencies out there. Like, for example, I'm keen to talk to Ministry of Corrections now that I understand some of the things that they do and who I can link in with there. There's thousands of hours of community service out there that could help build our clubs in, as long as we set up the appropriate program. So we can help build our clubs with volunteer base on a whole lot of people that want to get back and integrated in the community and just don't know how to. Where are we going?
How are you going to measure progress?
Well, that's the results-based accountability program. So it's turning the curve, is how they phrase it, and it's continuing to survey, continuing to understand what we do and the impact that it has. So we set up very specific questions around that from our playgroup parents, from the players that we have in our programs, and also the voice of the community. The voice of the customer. I like voice of the community program that Hamish set up. That's going to be a key for us. That's going to see if we're actually making a difference. So yeah, as I said earlier, I encourage you to understand RBA. If you're dealing with government agencies, learn the RBA process, because that's how all government agencies are starting to report.
One last question, Kerry.
Yeah, I applaud you on the program. I think it's fantastic.
Thanks, Kerry.
What's the engagement like with the clubs? Are the clubs welcoming what you're doing, and how does that take there?
Yeah, the key is, and what I'm going to work on from here, of course, is and coming from an RST background as well, is the connection with the RST as well, because the key is that one-on-one continuity. Who's going to deliver? Who's going to support? One of the things I am finding in various, if it's still up, no, gone. That wonderful audit matrix that I had on the country, in certain areas like Gisborne, Taranaki, it's better for me to work with the district and support the district. So you'll see Gisborne Tairāwhiti has the yellow box around it. That means I'm working with the district and they are supporting the clubs because they have the better connection with the clubs. So as long as we get an understanding then from an RST how they can support the district, then we're going to have that one-on-one walking them through the program that we're putting in place.
Thanks, Jacob.
Thanks,
That's
Dave.
a fantastic story. Please join me in thanking Jacob.
Thanks a lot.